Welcome to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast, featuring in-depth interviews with people in hip-hop culture, based out of New England.
Here we go.
All right.
Yeah, I had to put on the airplane mode.
Oh, airplane mode. That's actually not a bad idea. I think I'll actually put that on myself.
Yeah, it'll boot you.
One time I got my phone went crazy and it was playing crazy music and I couldn't shut it off and someone called me. I was like, it just screwed up the whole interview.
Yeah. You got to cover all the bases, man.
Oh, man. So, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Leedz Edutainment Podcast. We got a very special guest today. We have bass player, producer, band leader, survivor, Brady Watt. How are you, brother?
What's good? I'm doing great.
Yeah, busy day today?
Busy, man. Pretty regular day for me, but yeah, busy. Everything is worked out. You know what I mean? I find life is easier with order, you know?
It's funny. I've had this conversation with people sometimes because I worked at the Middle East. You know, people liked having no structure and no order. It kind of was run like the Middle East and the venue. And because it was an independent venue, it wasn't corporate. And the owners didn't like structure and whatnot. And people wanted to work there because there was no structure and they were just kind of misfits. And, the inmates ran the asylum. But they would get mad all the time because there was no order. So,
right.
As much as they didn't want structure, or they said they didn't, they actually needed it. Otherwise, if we had structure, it probably would have been a lot less resentment. So I talk about that all the time.
It's crazy, man. We're all learning so much. Life is very interesting because do you feel like you're just learning a lot every day?
Absolutely.
Always just having these epiphanies about society and people and how we're wired. And, as I'm growing older, I'm like, damn, you're looking back on your past and how things got to where they are now, different people. And there's so much that can be avoided. There's so much bullshit that can be avoided if people would actually deal with their problems within themselves. Because most anything, these problems, people be like, oh man, I need to pray on this, or I need to get this crystal to heal this or that, or fucking whatever. And it's no, dude, you need to get out of your own way. You need to stop drinking. You need to fucking wake up earlier. It's all these things are just more mundane solutions that people don't really want to face. And there's a lot of reasons why we band-aid them. A lot has to do with substance abuse, which is just part of our society, but it's straight up substance abuse, drinking, smoking weed. It causes a ton of problems. And this is coming from me. I drank and smoked my whole life. You know what I mean? Later in life, I'm like, damn, dude, so much shit could have been avoided. And I bring this, we're going right out the gate with this shit, but you have come to this realization as well. You're sober, right?
Yeah, almost 14 years.
Yeah, it's profound, man, when you start to really just attack your demons, man. We all have issues. It's our job to handle them. And if you don't handle them, life is chaotic. And I guess people have fun with that, but I don't think it's fun. I disagree. People act like it is, and no, it isn't.
Are you sober?
They call it sober, but yeah, I quit drinking and smoking. Yeah, I don't drink or smoke weed anymore now.
Oh, so it's technically sober.
Technically sober. It is. That's only been about 3 months. Last year, I got cancer, obviously.
Right.
During that, there was a lot of epiphanies during that. That shit changes you, man.
Absolutely.
Being on chemotherapy, having all those chemicals in you, dealing with this and that. And for me, it wasn't scared, oh, I'm going to die. It wasn't a near death experience. going through the motions of chemo and then everyone else's attitude towards it, it definitely changed me. I'm way healthier. It what was crazy was after chemo on it, I couldn't smoke weed. Drink. And I didn't want to drink. I wanted to smoke weed, but I couldn't. So because of like the test, like the type of cancer I had, THC would mess with the cancer marker test. So I wasn't allowed to smoke weed. And this time, at this point, I was smoking like every day on some rapper shit. Like I'm in the music industry. I haven't had a real job in 15 years. Surrounded by vice. Everyone's doing whatever they want, right?
Yep.
You know this world very well. So it's like normal to just like smoke weed every day. And of course I had my shit together. I've always been very disciplined, but smoke weed every day, drink whenever I go out. So cancer comes along, and while I'm on it, I'm like, dude, I can't wait to fucking drink beers again and smoke weed. So when I got healed up, I did that all summer. Had a good ass time. But it didn't really feel right. It didn't feel right. And then late in the year, the night before Thanksgiving, the classic go out and drink with your friends night. I went out and drank a bunch of whiskey, but normal night for me. You know what I mean? Like nothing out of the wheelhouse. And I got mad sick, dude. Mad sick. Like poisoned, you know? And it turns out my liver is kind of compromised from chemo, and I didn't really know. And yeah, it was bad, dude. And I was just like, I could go into more details, but it was crazy because I didn't even get that drunk. I got like my body was poisoned from alcohol. And that was the last time I drank. I just can't bring myself to do it, and just focused on fucking progressing in life, man.
Feel you. Real quick, your headset, your earbuds, I think are coming in and out. And sometimes when you speak, is there any way you could use something else or maybe not use
Oh
those?
shit, yeah. Okay.
I just
Let
don't
me
want
do
to
a
lose
quick.
I don't want to lose what you have to say.
Yeah, let me do a pivot real quick. I got yep. Stand by. I got my in ears right here.
All right. We are taking a brief pause. uh, we are killing time with Brady Watt. I am your host, Leedz Edutainment. As Brady go gets his headset, we will be right back after a few. I wish I could play like elevator music right now, but I cannot.
Got these babies.
Oh, look at this. Here we go. How are those? What do you, this does what you use at shows? Can he hear me? I don't know if he can hear me. He's got something
Check
going on.
1, 2.
Yeah, all right. We're good.
Check 1, 2. Yup.
It's a little echoey, but not the end of the world. I'd rather have it echoey than cut out.
Is it echoey? Like, what do you mean?
It feels like it just sounds different. Like, we'll get used to it. It's not super echoey. It just sounds more like you can hear you're in an open room a little bit, but it's not the end of the world.
Maybe I should open the door because I just shut the door. Maybe that's like
Interesting.
doing it. I don't know. It should be okay.
That's better now. I think maybe because it's too. I don't know. You've talked now. Give me a test.
Check 1, 2.
Well, fine. Whatever. Let's go. What
Is
kind
that
of
right?
Yeah, it's fine. You there?
Yep.
Okay. What kind of cancer did you have?
Testicular cancer.
Oh, really? I'm sorry to sorry to ask if it was
No,
personal.
that's all right.
You're kind of young for that. You're kind of young for that.
Dude, it's pretty common, man. Cancer is common just in general, bro. Like people were all like, "Oh, I'm so sorry it happened to you," and I'm like, "It happens to like 50% of us." You know, it's like,
Wow.
that should be just calling your card, man. No matter how healthy, I'm pretty damn healthy, man. And yeah, just got it. Just felt a lump down there. I was in Brazil. I remember the moment where I was like, "Ooh, I should get that checked when I go." And I won't go into those details, but I remember the moment. Like, yeah, when I get back home, I'm gonna go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and the dude was just like, yeah, we're gonna have to take off your left testicle. And I'm like, oh, okay. It was just like that dry. It's like, yeah, probably testicular cancer. Whether it's a tumor, whether it's cancerous or not, we have to take it out. So it was just like that. And then within 7 days, surgery, removed. But having one is no problem. Like, my testosterone is fine. I'm getting tested all the time. You only need one in nature. And, nature is brilliant. A lot of these things, we have 2 of them for a reason. So that if one gets damaged, you're still going.
Yeah. That's thank God for that, right?
Yeah.
My
So yeah.
Yeah, I know of a couple of people that have had that, and it's salute to you for handling that, because it's not an easy thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, cancer is rough. It's just a vicious disease. You're lucky to survive,
Yeah.
Your phone number is 603. Are you born and raised in New Hampshire?
Yes.
Which section?
Nashua.
Ah, yes. I'm born. I'm grew up all over New England, but I lived in this small town, Sandown, New Hampshire.
I know Sandown.
Oh, you do you? Wow, that's impressive.
Yes.
Most people don't, even that live in New Hampshire.
That's up by remember the venue, the Stad Cafe?
Yep. That's Plastow.
That was in Plastow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Plastow is where I went to high school, because we were a regional school.
Gotcha.
So I moved to southern New Hampshire in like 7th grade and graduated there. And that's my formative years, is all in southern New Hampshire. And then
Nice.
I ended up going to Concord for my first college, New Hampshire Tech in Concord, New Hampshire.
Okay.
And then from there I transferred into Northeastern, and that's how I ended up in Boston and started Leeds.
Gotcha. So you're really a New Hampshire guy.
If you look at the whole, my formative years in New Hampshire, I lived there probably for 10 years. I'm 43 now. The other 33 are Mass. But I mean, it depends how you look at it. My childhood, 0 to 12 is Mass, but the formative years in New Hampshire. So it kind of feels like you're from there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My parents are still there. I still visit them. So, I mean, I guess, but I've lived in Mass longer at this point. So did you go to Berklee from New Hampshire? Is that where you ended up, in Berklee?
Yeah, I went to Berklee at age 18. Yeah, man. Just, in high school, I didn't even apply anywhere else. It was just like, once I found out I could become a professional musician, that's just what I did.
Now
So Berklee seemed like
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go
sorry.
ahead.
Oh no, Berklee seemed like the next step.
Because it's really hard. What I found was very hard to think that you could have really any type of musical career in New Hampshire, because it was such a tough area, small area, limited resources, limited things. I knew that I had to get out of there to have a career, but it's interesting that you were like, you grew up in that environment and was like, I think I can do this. Because a lot of people that grew up in New Hampshire don't really think like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to see it because the limited opportunities that are there for music. I mean, I was a DJ in New Hampshire and I struggled. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a thriving musical environment. Sure, there's shows here and there, but it's not like a city,
Yeah, I'm one of only a few people that have done it from there. It's what happened. I came up with Decap. Do you know Decap?
I know that name. I know that. Yeah, I think I do. I know the name.
Yeah,
I have to.
He's been in the scene forever, and he's a successful producer. I did a ton of work with him, and he was a grade above me.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot of production stuff from him. But yeah, you get to kind of see people doing it. What happened with me is I went to like a weekend Berklee camp. My mom saved up money and put me into this. It was literally a weekend. But what happened was I went there, met a bunch of other kids, and there was all these teachers and incredible bass players and musicians. And I was like, oh, you can be a professional musician. Until that moment, it wasn't even an option at all. I had to see someone do it before. And then I was like, oh, you can do that. So then in my head, the next step was, oh, then I go to Berklee and study music, which luckily I did because I had a lot of work to do. You know, I mean, in order to make it in this industry, man, like this is a very competitive industry. You have to be really good, you know. And of course, I was in New Hampshire. I was probably one of the best bass players in New Hampshire as a teenager, but that doesn't mean anything.
Right.
You know, I mean, I went to Berklee. These dudes are amazing, bro. Like these kids have been training their whole life. They were going to performance high school. I didn't know that existed. I'm like, you guys get to play music in high school? That's crazy. Like I had a few classes, luckily senior year, that really prepped me, which was really dope. But I didn't know that existed. Yeah, New Hampshire, you know, people talk about like privilege and all this and that. And I'm like, yeah, well, where I'm from, we had access to nothing. You know, like that's a completely lopsided thing, because if you're from New York, yeah, there's like a lot of like this poverty, there's all this and that crime, but at the same time, you have access to stuff. There are schools that like can skyrocket you into the industry. There's industry in New York, LA. If you're from New Hampshire, there's just not a lot of resources if you want to be an artist. There are no resources, actually, I'll say.
Right. That's what I'm saying. For the arts, it's not a booming state for the arts.
No.
You know what I mean?
And there are a bunch of people that are good at it, really creative, but then they just become electricians, plumbers, which salute them. A lot of the time, I wish that I was friggin' doing that, man. The music business is crazy to make it in this business, man. It's almost impossible.
The trades are doing really well right now too.
I'm envious of them, man. That's what all my cousins and the people I grew up with, that's what they do. My brother, doing great.
Why the bass? Because most people would say if they want to play the guitar, they would go for the lead guitar. Why did the bass was, why the bass?
Really, because I played guitar for a year. My dad bought me a guitar for Christmas and I became obsessed with it. And it's just all I did for a year. And then I was in like a punk band, right? And we needed a bass player. So for the following Christmas, I asked my dad for a bass and just switched to bass because we just needed a bass player. And that was my band, Smash City. And I loved it. From the moment I picked it up, I knew that's what I was supposed to do.
Really?
There was a lot more options on it than guitar. Everyone played guitar. You could slap the bass. There was just all this shit you could do. And it was just way cooler to me.
What were some of your bass player influences? Like who did you love on bass?
There's so many. I mean, in my younger years, it was like I was really into punk rock. So I was, Rancid, Matt Freeman, Royce Nunley of the Suicide Machines, all the bass players of all those bands. The biggest like bass god of all time is Jaco Pastorius. He's the influential one. He's like our illest dude ever.
What is he? What band was he in?
Jaco Pastorius. He did solo. He was in the band Weather Report.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, sampled a lot. You know that song Rain by SWV?
Sure.
That's a Jaco Pastorius sample.
Yeah. For me, bass players, my era, it was Les Claypool of Primus. Was the ultimate bass player. It was like there really was no other. It was such a landslide for a lot of us. It was like we loved the Primus. It was like no one even can compare. And then, obviously Flea from Chili Peppers, we loved.
Yeah.
That was, and what was the dude in 311? Peanut, was that his name? 311?
Peanut. Yeah.
He was great too. These were some of the standouts when we were kids. They were like, oh, these are the illest bass dudes. But Claypool, Primus, I've still yet to hear anybody top that. You know what I mean? But
yeah, as far as that style goes, yeah, he's really one of the best. And I looked up to all those guys you just mentioned as well. Yeah. And it's a trip because I'm friends with all those guys, man. I don't know Les Claypool, but I'm friends with Flea and Peanut and from the internet, but we've like kicked it in real life. And I've went to Flea's house several times, went toe to toe with them on the bass, and we're buddies. That's the best thing about the internet, man. Like, I've got to work with all my heroes, dude. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. While we're on New Hampshire bass in the arts in Primus, a friend of mine and talked about drug addiction and alcoholism and all this other good stuff. I just lost a friend in New Hampshire. And they don't know exactly what happened, how he passed away yet, but he passed away. He was my age, and he played the bass in orchestra. He played orchestra bass, and he was a naturally talented individual. His name was Justin Layton, rest in peace. He was could play basketball really well, baseball really well. He was a socially great personality, and he could play orchestra bass really well. And then when he got out of high school, he did construction. He did roofing with his family, but it was like, that's the typical, New Hampshire, not typical, but that was like he was very New Hampshire, I should say. He was great on dirt bikes. I mean, this guy was a talent, but he loved the bass. Now that's why I bring it up, is because he was stand up, but he could play regular, and he just had a natural talent for it, So I've always had respect.
Rest in peace, bro.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. Condolences to his family and our friends. We have to go Wednesday to his.
Oh, you're going up there?
Yeah, Southern New Hampshire. Nashua was, when I lived in Nashua, there was this rumor, I don't know if it was true, that it was ranked the #1 place in the country to live. Do you remember hearing that?
Yeah, there was one year that we were ranked that. Yes, I remember. I wouldn't say that's true now.
Well, I think Adam from Jumper, what is it, Jumper 22? What's his No Jumper? He's from Nashua.
Right. Yeah, so he's another guy who made it. I know him from high school, man. He's a year older than me, dude. Yeah.
Oh, really? He's only a year older than you?
Yeah, we're totally like in the know of
What
each
class
other.
are you? What class are you?
I graduated in 2004.
Oh, so you're a little later than me. I'm 97.
Okay. Yeah, so Adam's a legit biker, man. He was dirt jumps and all that back then. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, there's dirt biking and all that stuff was big when my buddy that passed away, Justin, he had a whole track in the back of his yard. He was like, and he had like 8 brothers and sisters. And when I first moved to the town, it was this big petition to like shut down his track because they were making so much noise in New Hampshire. Man. That's a lot of, but they were nasty, man. They were just like the guy was just a natural at everything he did. Rest in peace.
Yeah. That's very New Hampshire, man. All the biking and those dangerous woods activities, man.
Yeah, we had a convenience, a general store, not like a convenience store, like a 7-Eleven, like a general store, like, Perino's it was called. And it had dirt bike tracks that would run behind it. Yeah. And that was the main attraction because it was a pit stop on the dirt bike track, just in the woods, man. I lived in the woods. Shout out Peter Parker. He was out there and everybody back home, but it was that was a different way of life, I tell you.
Yeah.
But moving on. What'd you say? You glad what?
I'm glad that we grew up in that time period before cell phones took over.
Yeah. Different era back then.
Yeah, we're hybrids, Everything is different. And I'm just like happy that I was there for that, man.
Yeah. Instead of addicted to my phone.
Yes.
So you finish Berklee, then you go to Brooklyn? Is that how the story goes?
Yeah, I graduated from Berklee, and actually I didn't finish. I
Did you
still have
actually
6 credits.
graduate from Berklee?
No,
Does
I
anyone
still have
actually
6
graduate?
credits, dude. I got to finish, but I'm starting to do work with them. They want me to come there and do master classes, and they pretty much were like, "You can do anything you want here." Yeah, I just had the call the other day, and
Sweet deal.
one of the things is I'm gonna see if I can get like an honorary degree, because I literally have 2 classes, man. I did all the hard stuff. I got really good grades. I busted my ass, but I somehow fell short of the amount. Like a lot of people did. A lot of times you had to do an extra semester.
Everyone I've ever talked to has neither not graduated or took them, like no one ever really, I don't come across many people that actually finished Berklee.
Yeah, so Berklee was really hard, man. Like it's one of the best music schools in the world, and it was not easy. It was like 50% dropout rate, and everyone was like fucking around and da da da. And it's like, no, you gotta, like, this is serious stuff, man. And
I'm actually speaking there. They invited me to speak there Thursday. Shout out Toki Wright. But
nice.
there's I forget the name of the event. I should know this. Let me look it up real quick. See if you've ever heard of these events. It's the International Hip Hop Symposium. You heard of this event?
Oh, cool.
But it's like a bunch of speakers and everybody from the community coming down Thursday night at Berklee. So that should be cool. I've never been invited to speak at Berklee before. I got denied there. But
wow.
Well, I was a DJ, and at the time Berklee was not considering turntablism as an instrument.
They are now.
Yeah, they are, but at the time they weren't. And I got denied. Not that my grades were that great anyway. And I ended up in Northeastern, but they shut it down.
Yeah, we're gonna start doing some stuff over there, man. I'm gonna bring in Preem as well. Yeah, it's
So back
colleges,
to Brooklyn.
Yep.
Back to Brooklyn. So you end up there, and then like, how do you start networking out there? Because you're obviously not, you're New Englander, so it's like now you're in Brooklyn.
Yeah,
I moved. Well, how did you move around and network?
Dude, I didn't have anything planned. I was living with a friend of mine who was a rapper, and I was living like in the ghetto, like not white people, period. Out in Crown Heights, because it was like $500 a month. It's like I had all this college debt. I didn't know where my money was coming from. I just wanted to get to New York and get it cracking. So I moved there and just started answering like Craigslist ads. And, one thing led to another. I can trace my whole career back to a gig that I got paid $7 for on Craigslist.
So what, you were paid $7 to what? Come play bass for an hour? What was it?
It was a gig, and like they made $50 at the door, and like we divided it between the band. It was $7.
That is dedication.
Yeah, but I can trace back, everything that's happened since then to that gig.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you start getting involved in the hip hop scene? Because you start working with some pretty big names. Were you coming in as a session player? Like, how was that going? How did that work?
Yeah, I've always been a hip hop head, so, and I realized that I was good at playing it before it was like a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing hip hop bass when I was 16 in New Hampshire before I knew the Roots was a thing. I was up there doing it, thinking I was like the first one. Because you know how it is being in New Hampshire, like internet existed, but we weren't very in the know, right?
Right.
So I was jamming with my friends. We had a group where it was just like bass, drums, and turntables.
Nice.
And we were good musicians. We have CDs and stuff. And this was like, I thought that we were on some brand new shit. Turns out there were other people doing it, but we were pretty ahead of the curve. I just kept doing it. At Berklee, got really good at playing. kept that up, was in all these hip hop bands. I was playing at the Middle East, playing all Asia, gigging, you know what I mean? Just like working, making beats, incorporating the bass with the beats, playing on producers' beats. It all just comes down to like work, you know, just putting in work and kind of getting ahead every day. And when I moved to New York, continued that. You know, I moved there to continue the path I was on and fell in with some good people. I went to a party at Dame Dash's. He had like a what would you, I guess it was actually like an art gallery. It was like a multimedia compound in Tribeca. And I went to a party there and I had my bass on my back. And at this time I was like hopping around. This is probably near the $7 gig time within a year of that. So I'm out there moving and shaking, no money, you know, fucked up in the game, just trying to keep roof overhead, college loans impending on me. And I really come from, you know, there wasn't much money from my family. So it was never like, let me just tap in with my dad and mom. Like, you know, it was like a horrible time for the economy. You know, that was like rock bottom for the economy. My mom had started a new job. Shit was all messed up with my dad's business. They took our family's house. It was fucked up, you know, bankrupt. And I watched all that happen. And my dad was like, he owned a landscaping business since he was 16 years old and was successful. But remember that time in the early 2000s, they did all this. Actually, it was very corrupt of the government. They did all this crazy loan shit. Remember the bailouts? Do you remember that whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, my dad caught a shitty hand with that, man, because he worked really hard his whole life and then invested everything into like building an entire condo complex with his own money and some loan from the bank, but like built it. So literally like him and his friend who's a builder of houses. My dad did all the like landscaping, the walls and all this. I was there mad summers building this shit, dude. Fucking then the shit hits the fan with the housing market. Can't pay the note on 20 vacant houses. Took everything, dude, including our house. That was the year I moved to New York, dude. So like I had my back against the wall and I had to make it work. And I was really good at what I did, but just needing to like, you know, make it, that's what really put me on another level, because I was just like a ravenous dude at that point. And so I ended up at a party at Dame Dash's, and like Mos Def was there. Ski Beats was making a beat. Jean Grey was there writing a rap. Lennox Lewis was there. It was just like packed with all these legends. And I'm New Hampshire still. I'm still like starstruck. I'm like, that's fucking Mos Def. That's like I could hang it up after working with that guy once. That's like the coolest dude in the world, especially back then. So I walked in and had my bass on my back, and Ski was like, yo, you're any good on that thing? And I was like, hell yeah, I am. So I fucking pull it out and then plug in right into his MPC. I remember there was sometimes we were making beats without any computers. I'm still from that era. And plugged right into the MPC and started going crazy. And everyone, it was just like a party. Dame was there, everyone, you know what I mean? Dame was up at this time still. He was still, you know, moving. This was like right after Rockefeller or whatever. And everyone went crazy, you know what I mean? Like, oh, dude's fucking nice, da-da-da. So then I laced up mad joints, played on like a Mos Def joint, played on the Jean Grey, went back the next day, recorded all the bass on Pilot Talk 1, you know, Currency, Pilot Talk 1.
Dope.
Ski was like halfway through it, so then I did bass the whole shit. And then all of a sudden I went from being a 0 to having like a stacked resume overnight. And then all the musicians in New York, everyone wanted to work with me because I was like, oh yeah, that dude's like the dude that plays with like Mos Def and Currency and J Electronica. And It's all about that when you're coming up. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to be, if you're on, then they want to put you on the gigs. So then things started rolling. It was still an uphill battle for the next decade, but at least
It's
then
still an uphill battle.
Still,
it remains an uphill battle.
I'm doing great, but it takes all of my focus and discipline.
It does.
Yeah, dude. So sometimes your life does change overnight. It really does. Sometimes, like, it's not like just from the one night. You obviously had to have been prepared to like wow an entire party of fucking musical geniuses. But sometimes your life changes in one night. And that was one of those nights. It's happened a few times to me. That was one of the standout ones, though, because then everyone starts answering your calls. It's the same as bass and bars. The minute I started doing my series bass and bars, everyone wanted to rap on my beats. Everyone started picking up phone calls, and shit was easier. You know?
I would definitely want to talk about bass and bars, but I just want to go just before we go there. I first hear about you and meet you because you're the bassist for Talib Kweli, and
Yes.
we do the show at the Middle East, and this is the infamous show. We got to talk about this because I want your perspective on it because I didn't really catch everything until the shit hit the fucking fan.
Yes.
But you know, it was a Talib Kweli show. How long ago was that now? I want to say that was 7 years ago now, maybe. I'm trying to think when that was.
Yeah, I would say 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah.
7 or 8 years ago, Talib Kweli plays the Middle East with a live band. Brady's the bassist in the band. I didn't know who Brady was yet.
Yeah, I got the
remember
Kweli gig. I got that gig right around that Dame Dash party, like within weeks. Then I've been Kweli's bass player for 14 years. I still play. He's the only guy I still just play bass in his band. Everything else with him in DJ Premier. But I don't even do the freelance bass player thing anymore.
Yeah. So Brady's the bass player. And I guess apparently I didn't realize at the time that there was an issue with the bass amp. You didn't like the bass amp or something. Do you remember
No bass amp. There was no bass amp.
Really?
No, I was playing through a monitor in a DI box.
Huh. Interesting.
No bass amp.
Ouch. That probably is I guess someone didn't bring one.
It wasn't on the rider. I don't know what happened.
I don't know how that usually happens. Usually you have one, or they must have been got that something happened. But I remember hearing that you were unhappy with it, right? So could you explain to me? See, I want because I know my side. What happened from your perspective with Talib Kweli has a huge gets really upset and walks off the stage arguing with the sound man. Talk to me about the lead up and everything that happened to that point. From your perspective.
We got there that day. We got there late. Of course, you know, we should have been there, I'm sure, earlier for sound check to work these things out. I'm sure that I'm an on-time guy, but I can't speak for the other people that I'm with all the time. And you know, we were driving from New York, you know what it is. And honestly, a lot of time you can show up before the show at 6 and, you know, iron it out, no problem. No bass amp though. So I have no way of hearing myself. Of course you can jerry rig it. You can do a DI and feed it back through the monitor, but like you're really like risking it. And this is kind of before in-ear monitors. In-ear monitors would have solved it. If I had these with a pack, I'd be totally fine. And it wasn't the first time. I've played shows totally blind with no bass amp and me just up there acting like everything's fine. You know, I've played thousands of shows. I can get through anything. But, and you know, once the crowd gets in there, the sound, it's like things change. And I think, you know, that sound guy maybe wasn't being like the most accommodating during the day. Of course, there was tensions, I'm sure, and there was issues and going back and forth. And by the time we got up on stage, the sound was horrible. Couldn't hear myself. We were playing with a DJ and a band, and if the band can't hear the DJ, it is a fucking train wreck. There's no reference point of where the track is at, it's a goddamn train wreck. Which is why you need in-ears. If there's a drummer and a DJ, you need in-ears. There's no it's almost like going scuba diving without a tank. It's just stupid. You would never do it.
Yeah.
I would never rely on monitors as a drummer. It's insanity. We had to deal with this recently in Paris. We showed up and they didn't have the in-ear thing, and we had to wing it like that. And it was, I didn't envy the drummer that night. We got through it, but it's a nightmare. So we're going back and forth with the guy. Kweli. One thing about Kweli, dude, he's gonna say whatever's on his mind. He doesn't care who you are. He's not a dick, but he's gonna address the problem and like tell you exactly what it is, which I like that about him. He doesn't really hold back. And he was like, and I was up there like, yo, the bass is gone. This is a train wreck. Crowd's going crazy, packed house. And Quality's like, yo, if Brady Watt says the sound ain't right, the fucking sound ain't right. And and then dude, like, he stormed off. At some point too, that engineer, the guy was up there like trying to fix shit, and I like spun around, my bass hit him in the head, which I didn't mean to do. I would never try to just hit someone with my bass, but it was like me turning around. It didn't hurt him, but it like probably hit him. So then he left the stage, and then there was some altercation between him and the sound guy, and then my friend Pleasure Pete. Somehow he thought that he needed to get on stage to like protect the situation. It was just, things.
So I'll tell you where I come in, right? So all of a sudden,
Yes.
Everything you said, all of a sudden I walked downstairs and I saw like you guys trying to line check, right? Like trying to get the sound right. I didn't think anything of it. I figured we'll figure this out. I've never had an issue not figuring this out. But the engineer at the time, I won't say his name. Maybe he wants me to, but I won't. You guys were going back and forth trying to get it, and then the engineer, the monitor engineer, there was two engineers, the front of house and there was a monitor. And the monitor engineer said something like, well, why don't you show up at sound check next time? And Talib just lost it. Now, granted, it was his 40th birthday. He was drinking and smoking heavily in the green room. And he lost it on the sound guy, stormed off the stage. I run up on the stage. And I'm like, what the heck is happening right now? I got a sold out show. Khalib's about to leave. You guys all walk off. And I'm like, what the heck is happening? And then Talib comes back out and just goes ape shit rant. He just loses it, dude. And I'm like, I grabbed the monitor guy. I'm like, you need to switch now, immediately. Like, go to the front of the house. I grabbed the front of the house engineer. So you come play over. You're doing monitors right now. Because I wanted to get the monitor guy away from Kweli, because this wasn't working, because he was mouthing off and it was bad. So I grabbed the front of house guy and put him in the monitor so he wouldn't have to deal with that. And then I'm sitting there and I'm wearing like a New Hampshire zip up, like I had just came back from the lake, so I had I didn't expect to be on camera doing this, but wearing like a New Hampshire pullover, and I'm just like, Wally, I'm like, just chill. He's like, I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you. And he's still going off. And I'm just like, dude, chill. And we were able to calm the situation down and fix it. And you guys luckily came out and played. But man, that was probably the craziest 15 minutes in my, one of the craziest 15 minutes in my, because I'm just looking at this. I'm like, we're going to have a friggin' riot if he doesn't go on. Because there's 550 people here. They're going to be bullshit. And I'm like, we got to calm the situation down. We calmed it down. A couple people complained, but I was like, it was fine. But man, there's footage of it still. And you can see it on YouTube of him going off. He was it was like the dude was being kind of rude. And there was something else. He said something like, oh, I can't play the bass for you or something like that. He said that too during the day. And I'm like, buddy, I'm me. All right. Get the fuck out of here. I also had a lot of rugged individuals in that audience. That could have went
that could have went south, man. Yeah, Pete still brings that up.
And
But luckily we got through it, man. I mean, it could have been
was a
much
great show.
worse. Yeah.
And even the other thing that happened afterwards, after the show was done, Talib and the sound man were beefing on Twitter.
Oh my God, are you serious?
Dude, they're going back on each other on Twitter. And then Kweli calls me. Okay, calls me. He's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, all right. I'm like, show's over. You know what I mean? And he calls me, and I'm at the studio at the bridge, and he calls me and tells me his whole version of it, right? And I'm like, and I'm like, I'm listening to Kweli talk about this huge incident at the Middle East. I'm like, I can't believe this is happening right now. You know, he's arguing with the sound guy on Twitter. And eventually I just had to tell the sound man, I'm like, you got to stop engaging. Like, can you just both please stop? And eventually it did. But that's definitely one of my more memorable experiences at the Middle East. We still joke about it to this day.
I'm glad it is.
I'm just so glad he went back on stage.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, you know, with the sound, you gotta have no ego as the sound guy, and the artist kind of has to be right, man, or that will happen. You know, I mean, I've seen artists flip out worse in the sound personnel just take it on the chin. That, to be honest, that's what you're supposed to do, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Sometimes sound guys get a little jaded. Get a little jaded after years and years of doing it. You know what I mean? And
yeah, I understand that. Yeah.
But you know, it's a compromise, like anything else. You know what I mean? It's a compromise.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you start producing after when do you start producing? Because you're a bass player, but then you start making your own music, right?
Yeah, I started making beats probably when I was like 20. And then I just, from doing so many sessions as a bass player and then realizing that I'm really just the guy writing the music a lot of time it'd be like someone does a drum beat and then I freestyle, and you edit the bass, and then I'm playing a melody, and then I'm bringing in my guitar player, and then I got a trumpet player coming in. Next thing you know, and a lot of this was with ski beats and decaf. So I learned how to run Ableton, and I got good at drum program and all that from decaf and ski. And basically I just realized that I was already being a producer. So just own it. And then that started a whole new journey, because I was in the mind frame of, I'm just a bass player. I don't want to do anything else, which is good because I got really, really good at bass. Most people would start to spread out, right? I kept it real tight for a while, which is important, because the reality is you can get good at anything. It's all just a matter of time, you know, and focus. I've gotten good at a lot of shit in my lifetime. As you get older too, you start to understand the method of getting good at stuff, and it just accelerates. Which I've learned, you know, upright bass, production. I'm a professional singer. I've gotten really good at singing, writing, all these things I never intended on doing. Just from daily work. So production was the same thing, and it just made thousands of beats, and yeah, just repetition, man, doing it every day.
So when do you meet Premier?
That was 7 or 8 years ago.
So right around the Talib band time?
Probably, yeah, right after, maybe after that.
Right.
Yeah, one of his interns, and Primo is my favorite producer since I was a kid, since New Hampshire, riding around in the Isuzu rodeo, smoking blunts, you know, listening to
Isuzu rodeo. That's, you know, so New Hampshire right there. Driving around smoking blunts in the Isuzu rodeo.
Oh yeah, Illmatic on repeat.
Yeah, me too. And, not Isuzu rodeo. Jeep Cherokee, Chevy Cavalier. Not the Grand Cherokee, the regular Cherokee. Yeah, Chevy. I had a bunch of different cars.
New Hampshire cars, bro.
Yeah, the home of the used car, the Auto Mile.
Gotta love it, yeah. Route 1 in Norwood.
Yeah. Out here, it's 125 auto mile. Well, in New Hampshire, I should have not out here. 125 auto mile. There's more used car dealerships than anything else.
Dude, it's the best. It's best to just get a used car, man. You get an old SUV, that thing will run forever.
So you meet Premier?
I meet Premier. We became buddies. We talked about bass for like an hour. And this was at D&D, his old studio, the classic one with the wood walls and all that, before they've since mowed that down. But we just bonded over talking about jazz bass players and funk and all this. He's a real encyclopedia of music. And then a couple of years went by after that. And then he called me. I just got a call. I remember I was sitting next to my ex-girlfriend's little brother at the time in East Flatbush in Brooklyn. We were sitting on the couch. And I got a call from DJ Premier. And I was like, oh, shit, this is dope. And I picked up the phone, and he was like, man, I need to put a band together. I need you to be the bass player. We have a Japanese tour coming up, and you're the guy. He's like, they're trying to get me to get this other guy who's like a famous jazz bass player, but I told him you're the guy. And he just stuck to his guns. And next thing you know, I'm in Japan with Primo and putting together the band, and we just became tight from that. And that Japanese tour, we crushed it. That was like my dream gig at the time, you know. And
that was the Batter Band, right? The Batter Band. Correct.
Right. Yeah. Which was like bass, drums, trumpet, trombone.
And you guys would play the instrumentals, Premier's instrumentals live. Is that what it was?
Yeah, and he'd be spinning as well and cutting and lots of, it's like routine, you know, routines. Right. Sometimes he'll like cut the acapella, then I'll play the bass line. I'll play like New York State of Mind under Dwick, or, you know, there's all this. I know like all of his shit, and I know just a lot of bass lines. So it's just all this. It's a give and take, and we've just perfected it over many years and keep adding more and more to it. And yeah, the Japanese tour led to a European tour, which led to a US tour. So at this point, you know, I'm like touring the world with Primo, and his manager, Ian Schwartzman, becomes my manager during the time, because they notice me. I'm starting to get placements with big artists, and makes sense for Ian to negotiate some of these deals. I dropped my debut album, Lifetronics, by myself, did all the PR and all this, and I'm getting blog pickups when that mattered a lot, and features from Kweli, and just organic, like, you know, they saw that I was doing shit, you know. Not to mention I was rolling around Europe with a duffel bag of my CDs, selling them to the fans after the shows to make extra money, you know, that I printed myself. So they're like, this kid's a go-getter, you know. And it wasn't because I was like a pop star or some sort of rapper. It wasn't like a sure bet that they were like, yo, this dude's working. Right. And so Ian took me on, and then Preem signed me to his label. I'm signed to Preem as an artist, you know what I mean? Like, I'm the only artist on there. The reality is we have studios next to each other. We kind of all move as a team. And I help him out with a lot of stuff. He's helped put my career where it is. There's just so many moving parts and so many years of building all this. We've done it together, which is a dream come true. You know, Preem's one of the best guys I know. I know him more than like anyone else I know. You know what I'm saying? You know those people that just like you spend so much time with? You're like, I know this.
Don't you live in his basement or something?
I used to. I did for a while. Yeah. That's a whole.
So you really
story.
Know him?
Well, dude. Well. Yeah. That's a whole crazy story why that happened.
Oh, I got to hear that. I got to hear that.
I mean, dude. So it was like what is this? This is 2019. I moved out to LA 2018. I lived in New York for 10 years, Harlem, did my thing. I lived mostly in Harlem for almost 10 years. And I was going to LA a lot in winters and realizing, there's a lot of business out there. And I wanted to expand things out there. Had a lot of friends out there. It's nice out there. It's actually hit the fan since then. It's become crazy. But it used to be nice in LA. And before it was Mad Max land. But yeah. So that, dude, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to give this a try. I moved all my stuff out there. Get out there, get a new crib, live in, get the palm trees. But of course, at night, it looks nice. But then at night, there's like people like homeless people right in front of your house living under the palm trees and like doing drugs and fucking, it's insane. Like I wanted to move out of the hood, man. I lived in the hood for so long. And I was like, get me to LA, sunshine, palm trees, all this. And I got out there and it was still pretty hood. I was living in K-Town. I'm like, God damn it, I can't get away from this shit. So, but it was a little nicer than I guess where I was at. So nicer weather at least. And I love LA, man. And it made sense because I started my show Basin Bars out there, man.
Oh, cool.
And Basin Bars was like I was saying earlier, once I started it, it's all the content creators out there. When we post all this stuff and you will know, it will be very clear when you post a piece of content or any sort of offering to the public, it'll be very clear what's right. Like I posted that episode with evidence, 10,000 hours. And it just out the gate just got so many more likes and engagement than anything I had ever fucking done. And I had been putting out stuff for like 10 years as a solo artist. And I was like, oh, I guess I just got to play bass next to the rappers. Like this is, and I'm like, I know all of them, or not all of them, but like these guys, right. I'm friends with Talib, I'm friends with just dope, man. Let's do this. So I just kept doing it. Now we're on episode 50. So it was very evident that was a winning formula, Basin Bars. And we've updated it, every episode. But I'm out there in LA living. Things are going better. Things are going good. So my label, who is Preem and Ian, they get me at my own studio in New York so that I can start coming to New York for like a month at a time so I can start working out there too. And because we have a compound in New York City, in Queens. And so I'm coming out and I'm staying at Preem's house because he has like a whole finished basement, the guest room, and et cetera in Queens. And staying there, back to LA, come out, do work, shoot Basin Bars. Dope. I got my own studio next to Preem. This is ill. And then during one of those trips, COVID hit. And I just got stuck in New York for like 5 months with none of my shit. And I just never went home.
I'm sorry. It's just funny. I'm out in New York and all of a sudden COVID hits and I can't leave.
It was a goddamn nightmare. Except like it was
no
the
stuff.
Worst place.
No clothes, no. Just a suitcase.
Yeah, just like, okay, well, I can't go home to where LA with all my stuff, but I got my whole team here. I have a studio, which is like a bunker. There's one way in, one way out. We got security. We got a restaurant above us. I got plenty of dough. I got a place to stay. I'm not going to be performing live anytime soon, so I can bet 80% of my income is gone. So I was like, fuck it, man. I'm just stay here and just live at Primo's for free, which was for 2 years. So I lived in DJ Premier's basement for 2 years. Now, and I now have a nice ass house. I caught the 3-bedroom condo down the street, right down the street from his house. I love the neighborhood I'm in. And you know, at any time during that, I could have like went and got an apartment or anything, but it was working just fine. And we're just like just coexisting. He's one of my best friends, so there's no problem. We never even had one fight or anything. You know, he's a great guy. He's a really great guy. Very idiosyncratic person. You know, he's very like does things a very particular way, which is exactly how he makes his music as well. It's how he's been able to stay relevant. He's very just always goes to the studio. He's gonna have shit a certain, you know, he's that way, but just very, very good person, generous and awesome dude. So
that's great. That's great to hear.
And now he moved actually. Now he's got like a really dope crib elsewhere, and now I'm in that neighborhood where he was.
So, are you playing bass, doing his bass lines on his beats? Is that what's going on?
No, I'm on some of the records. He samples me and Carlos, my production partner.
Okay, is that what it is?
He samples us. Yeah, we'll do. There's more of those coming. There's, you know, I make like sample packs, but I don't put them out on Splice or anything. But I'll like make tracks and then be like, oh, okay, this is for Preem, or this will be dope for Jetson, or this is going to Jack Harlow, this is going to Russ. That's how I produce. Some of the tracks I'll put drums on. Some of them I'll be like, no, this is dope if I just give this to Preem to chop up. So, but to be honest, Preem does his whole thing himself. He doesn't need anyone. He doesn't really need me to play bass.
Does he play his own bass or is it sampled bass?
Yeah, he plays it on the keys.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, he has a very particular method of doing that. So rarely does he need me to do it. When I'm in there, a lot of times he's playing melodies or stuff, or something I compose. He does the bass thing his own little way.
Cool. Dope.
Yeah.
Back to
we have
bass.
studios next to each other. We have studios next to each other, so we're just always in the mix and, you know, talking shit.
I want to talk about back to bass and bars. You've worked with so many people at this point. Talk to me about some of the highlights. I mean, I know that it's tough to mention, you know, which ones are your favorite because you've worked with pretty much all your favorites, but talk to me about some experiences that stand out with those because you've worked with a lot of people.
Yeah,
go ahead.
It's been amazing and everyone's been cool. You know, I haven't had any there's no one that I could say was like, you know, whack dude or stressed out, or it's really a testament to music because we get in a lot of the guys I knew, I shouldn't say a lot, I would say maybe 25% of them I had some sort of pre-existing relationship with, but we get in the room and we kind of meet and we talk things over and we like play music together. And it's a bonding experience, you know, it's almost like you get to know each other real quick when you play music together.
Yeah.
So they've really, it's really all been amazing. I've learned so much from each one because each artist I really deep dive into their catalog. And of course I'm already familiar with them, but I go in, really try to learn as much about them as possible. So it's affected my my musicianship and my production style a lot, so much.
So are you, for people that don't know what bass and bars is, he's playing bass, redoing bass, playing bass with classic hip hop songs and having artists rap over that. So these are classics for the most part by some of the, you know, greatest hip hop artists that exist. So you're telling me that you don't pick the song first, you just pick the artist and then you figure out what song you want? Because it looks like you're playing their most famous songs a lot of times.
Yeah, a lot of the time we'll know what song we're doing, yeah. But there's no rehearsal.
No, I figured that.
You know, we meet up and we used to do it outside or at different places. Sometimes I'll have to pull up to a concert, you know, like at the exhibit one we did backstage at the Wiltern Theater. I've done them in the basement of like strip clubs.
Which artist was that? Which artist was that?
I won't even say where that
Oh,
one
come
is,
on.
but
Come on. All right. Apparently they weren't supposed to be there.
there was one, and we were in a basement. But yeah, so you gotta get these guys where and if you can. That's the hardest part, is staying in touch and being like, yo, Jadakiss is in town. We gotta like figure out how to pull up to the thing, and like that's the hard part. Now they come to me and I film at my studio, which is nice, which is like, now if you notice, the sound is better, like the cameras, it's more produced. It's because they come to me. But I'm still down to go outside. I'll do them anywhere. I don't give a shit. I'm going to Chicago this week, and we're still working on lining this one up. But that one will be a bit of a safari. We'll see. I gotta figure out like, who's shooting it, who's doing sound, where we're doing it, but it's all good.
You mentioned I'm thinking you just mentioned you're sending tracks to Jack Harlow and Russ. Are you producing for them, or are you just giving them your bass lines?
Yeah, I produced Jack Harlow. That was my first platinum record.
How many tracks?
I produced the song "Same Guy" featuring Adam Levine on his the first album, the one with What's Poppin' and stuff. Yeah, because actually What's Poppin', which was one of the biggest songs of that year, what was that, 2021 maybe? Maybe 20. Yeah. And on that, so we had a bass and bar scheduled, me and Jack, and it was double scheduled with the music video shoot with Cole Bennett for What's Poppin', which became his biggest song ever, changed his life. And I was like, I had my camera crew ready to go, all this, and I was like, oh, dude, he called me. He was wicked nice and really smart, and was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I would never do this, but I got this, opportunity to shoot with Cole Bennett. I'm like, oh, dude, do the video. That's going to be epic. Kept it cool, which is a lesson. Keep it cool. You ain't got to take nothing personal. Keep it moving. Keep the relationships with all these artists going. Right. If someone massively disrespects you, you can choose to stop fucking with them. But generally speaking, we're in this for the business to continue, right? So kept it cool. And it was no big deal. He was a nice guy. So then after that, I start sending them beats via text. Sent them 33 tracks over the period of a year. One of them became my first platinum record, called Same Guy, with Jack. And they played that. They performed it on Saturday Night Live. Actually, I was supposed to be in the band for that, but I was double booked, and I didn't do it. But it was cool.
What was the other gig? What was the other gig?
It was with Preem, man. It was with
Preem.
Right,
okay, you get that. I was about to say, what are you prioritizing?
It was a really big gig we had.
I respect that.
I didn't want to cancel. I wouldn't cancel on Preem because it was a big deal, and it was a type thing for Jack. I would have had to do a bunch of them, and it was smack in the middle. But it was actually cool because I was driving down the West Side Highway, and SNL was on, and I was pissed I wasn't performing. But then I was like, well, they're performing my song, and then I got paid like mad money for them to perform, and I wasn't there, and I was like, that's actually kind of cooler.
That is actually very cool. That's every musician's dream, Brady. That's most people's dream, that you just experienced there, right there. You know what I mean? Like, that is pretty freaking cool. Congrats to you.
Yeah, man.
We're from New England, and I wanted to bring up what was I forget the name. I should have wrote this down. What was the name of the Boston posse cut you did?
Oh, Back Around the Way.
Back Around the Way. Talk about, for those that don't know this track, he did a posse cut right around St. Patty's Day with all Boston, New England MCs. Talk about that one real quick, because that was a great thing to see from the homeland.
It was an honor to do it. And, what was the original, I'ma get home. I'ma get there.
Yeah,
Make
that
it
was
back even if I'm
Creators.
caught out there. The
Creators.
Creators. So
Shout out
we grew
XL.
up. That was like a classic. If you're from New England, that was like a and it's like
Absolutely.
songs like that, dude. Like they may not have a lot of Spotify plays, but you gotta understand that shit is a classic, dude. Like if you're from New England, man, you better know that song. So I wanted to do a song like that. It was right when I started playing upright bass, and what I would do every day was I would go in and to that same tempo, just improvise upright bass, and I did that for weeks, and then cut together like the illest bass line. You know, several, it goes through several changes, and I just wanted to make the most monstrous track. And I did that over the period of time. This was during COVID. I had so much time, and I had the studio, I had resources, and I'm next to Primo every day. So my beats, I ain't making no whack beats in there. You know what I mean?
Better not.
So yeah, it was like I put that record together, and this is, dude, people were still shook during COVID, right? Remember that when like people weren't going outside, people were wearing masks, like it was a weird time. And I was like, fuck that. I'm shooting this music video with all 8 of these rappers.
Name the 8 rappers on it. Name the 8 rappers on it.
So it's I've had a long day here, so forgive me if I fuck up, but Stack Selecta, Terminology, Leedz, Michael Christmas, Sam Adams, Pleasure Pete, Ed OG, Big Shug.
Say Slain.
Slain.
That's 8, I think.
That was it. Yeah. The only reason I faltered, I've had a long day. But
good.
And if you asked me near that shoot, I would have fucking nailed it right off. But yeah, so I did that song, and you know, we paid for the video and spent like 4 days shooting this video and going around and getting with all these guys in their little natural habitats. We got up with Leedz in that basketball court near his old crib, and you know, went to Michael Christmas's neighborhood, got Shug in front of you know, like that Faneuil Hall area. And then we were up in New Hampshire, shot Pleasure Pete in his backyard. He's like one of my best friends. He's
from Nashua too.
He's from Nashua. He's one of the most rapping ass motherfuckers ever. He's a classic example of a dude who just like works, but he's just like, he's hip hop to the bone. He's the most hip hop dude ever. You know what I mean? Like, and he'll sit there and just rap all night. He's wicked smart. We've grown up together.
That's awesome.
It's been influential on me, and still one of my best friends. So we shot that video. His team is in the backyard where he like slams the tomahawk steak.
Yeah. He's actually that part of the video stands out to me the most, to be honest.
Yeah,
lighting the grill with the lighter fluid. Yeah, that sticks out in my head. Like I remember that scene, that environment more than any of the other environments.
Dude, yeah, because that's our natural. That's
the New Hampshire in me.
That's our natural habitat. His backyard, which is in downtown Nashua, but he's got chickens and fucking, you know, super old historic house. Like that's where we hang out. Fires out back. Yep. Massive raging parties, cooking all this food. My boy Vinny Lorio was in there chefing it up, and so man, that record I'm so happy when I do these music videos because I get to watch it again and be like, "Yo, that was one of the best days of my life, man." And was
it hard to get everybody? On
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Like, I looked at that video. I was like, man, that looked like that was probably a lot of work to coordinate everybody.
It doesn't matter.
No, I know, but it just.
You know how it is, man. It's only good.
That's why I said that.
It's only good if it was hard to get, bro. You know,
sounds like it was.
Yeah, you look back and then there's like evidence of it, and it's like, damn, dude, that shit was so dope. And you know what? Like that song didn't make me any money, man. But like, I don't give a shit. Like I would have done it. Yeah, I would have done it.
I love it.
And you know what's crazy though is I didn't make the money off the record, but that record got me booked at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston because of that song.
Oh wow!
And they paid me a lot of money to do it.
Shout out the MFA.
Shout out to the MFA. That was my first time getting a guarantee of that level, and we've been moving since then. And that's why it's always just worth it to do it, man. Because put out your music, because even if you don't make money on that song, something's gonna happen because of the song that's gonna put you up on the next level, maybe make you more money. It's necessary to shoot all the shots, man.
Salute to you on that one. That was a great, that was a great pull off right there. I'll tell you that much.
And I'm headlining. I've been meaning to talk to you about this. I figured we'd talk about it right here and now on your podcast.
Right, great. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm headlining so I just did Mercury Lounge. We got about 200 people up there. That was end of the year. It was good. Jamming, amazing night. I brought out Styles P, bunch of dude. It was epic. I'm headlining the Blue Note next, which is 500 people. It's 250 people shows. So you see what we're doing here. Ticket sales are good. Looking towards selling that up.
The Blue Note, I've seen a lot of people doing stuff there now. It's just like a lot of hip hop dudes are going through there. Who did I see the other day? I saw like Kweli and Black Thought and
I was in the band for that. Yeah, that was Kweli's. I was just playing bass. Like that's the last side band gig I have. But yeah. We have Rakim. Like that's where it's going down. That's where it's going down in New York right now. It's the jazz club of New York. But they've embraced the hip hop community, so they have people like me headlining there now. Everyone's going through there. Shouts to Alex Kurland, who's like the program director and the manager. This guy has been championing me for like probably 5, 6, 7 years, bro. Like he's one of those dudes that saw what I was trying to do even before Bass and Bars, and he's been always putting me in position, doing everything he can. And so now I'm finally headlining. I used to do the late night series there where I went on stage at 1 a.m.
That's New York for you, man. It's New York for you, man. They do. Like,
I don't even stay up till 1 a.m. I'm like anymore, you know?
I know, like New York is like, I was talking to a venue the other day and they're like, yeah, we know our first show gets done around 10 and then we do our second show. I go, what time's that end? 4 a.m. I was like, Jesus. 4 a.m., huh?
Not anymore for me. I'm in bed by then, bro.
I was like, how are you getting people to work that shift all the time? You know what I mean? But I guess New York's a big place. You get away with it.
The clientele by 4 a.m. is fucking banged out, dude. Wasted. Come on. Nothing happens good at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
After midnight, nothing happens good. You don't need to be out there.
Brady, what's next?
But anyways, all that being said, Blue Note.
Yeah.
Next, we should do the Middle East.
Yeah, we got to redo that because that last show kind of got screwed up.
Right.
Because of COVID coming back, just timing wasn't right.
Can we do downstairs? Can we do like Brady Watt Bass and Bars downstairs?
You want to do, well, you can if you want. That's 500 people, you might want to do the upstairs first and see how that goes. It would be my suggestion, but it's your call. I'm not really booking the Middle East, but I'll talk to them about doing it. You know what I mean?
What are some other good venues to do?
I think you should do the upstairs first. That would be
I'll go with you on that. I just feel like it's such a small stage.
Well, you did Mercury Lounge. The stage isn't, unless you got like a 10-piece coming, it should be fine. I've seen brass bands on that thing.
Well, dude, you're the one that would know, so I should just do with what you say.
I would suggest you start there and see how it goes.
Okay.
That would be my suggestion, my professional opinion.
200 people, right?
Yeah, 185.
Let's do it. Let's do the upstairs. But I'm going to bring out the whole fucking town, man. With the artists, I'm going to try to do Back Around the Way. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be epic.
It's dope. I always say go for the slam dunk. You know what I mean? Like, go with the 200 nail it. You know what I mean? Then try to, not that you couldn't do it. I don't know, but we haven't done it yet, but I'd rather slam dunk, you know what I mean? And see what goes next time, build up the anticipation.
Say no more. That's what Ian said and Justin. So.
Oh, good. I guess good. Great minds think alike.
I just, whenever I think, I'm like, man, that's mad small. But yeah, I'd rather sell it out and then just come back.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to plug? You got coming up or anything?
Yeah, my phone's dying, so we should probably call it pretty soon.
All right, we'll call it. Unless you got something else you want to mention.
Yeah. When does this drop?
Maybe tomorrow.
Tomorrow?
Yeah, I think we'll do it tomorrow.
Okay. Well, tomorrow I have a music video coming tomorrow with Styles P, the song that I just produced, Death
What's the name
Before
of that
Dishonor. Death Before Dishonor.
Incredible track, man. I loved it. I didn't realize that was a new, because you did it on Bass and Bars. I thought it was like I thought it was another song. I didn't realize it was like, I thought you were recreating something. I didn't realize that was a new song because, like I said, the series was always remixes. But
yeah,
that was a great. And you sang on that chorus?
Yeah, I did the hook. Yeah.
Excellent job, brother. Excellent.
Thank you, man. So that music video that drops tomorrow.
Awesome. Congrats on that one.
And then on Friday, my next single comes out, which I haven't announced yet or anything, but I can say it on here. It's fine. But yeah, Friday is my next single called Not the One. And that's just me and guitar. It's my first time doing this. It's acoustic, man. It's the song I wrote, man. And I've been working on it for like a year and a half. And everyone loves it. So we're putting it out as a single. And we did a music video up in New Hampshire. And you're going to love this, dude. Like, I put my heart and soul in this, bro. We got a lobster boat and did a music video on the freaking lobster boat, dude.
Would you go out of Portsmouth?
Out of Portsmouth. I found the most legit lobsterman. Like, I asked around this dude, Captain Joe Golter. Dude, it was, talk about best day of my life. This was like right up there with Back Around the Way, bro. Once again, hard day. Because we went out there with a film crew with $100,000 worth of gear, and it was a bad day on the ocean, dude. It was going fucking crazy. My whole film crew was barfing. I was the only one not throwing up. It was mad cold, and I'm in this crew of lobstermen working, dude. Yo, check this shit out. It comes out on Friday, bro.
Can't wait to see this.
Yes, it's different.
You did, yeah. You did another one. It wasn't by yourself, but you did another one that was non-hip hop recently. You released it as a single. What was the name of that one? I want to say there was almost was there a heavy metal guitar player on it or something?
Yeah. Nobody Home.
That was a great track too, man.
Thank you. Yeah, that was with Brad Wilk, Rage Against the Machine, and Robert Trujillo of Metallica. And we actually on the low we have a super group, man. There's more coming from that as well. So
I didn't realize it was those guys. I thought it was just like, I recognized there was some type of metal element, but I was like, I didn't recognize the names. Because Brad from Metallica?
Brad is from Rage.
Ray, who's the other one?
Robert. He's the bass player of Metallica.
That's why, because the Metallica I remember had the other guy, and I forgot they switched the name. That's why I didn't recognize him. But yeah, oh man, good for you, Brady.
I'm living the dream, man.
You really are.
I'm having a good ass time doing it, and what I've realized is that you got to just go for it. We keep getting better, but we create this reality of ours, especially if you're an artist. You know, you are who you say you are. So go for it, because especially nowadays, you just build it. You do the video, you put out the song, and then like stuff starts happening. You know what I mean? I never thought all this stuff would happen.
Pretty impressive, especially from Nashua.
Nashua, man.
All right, Brady. Well, we'll wrap this up, man. Thanks again, brother. Always great seeing you and talking.
Thank you, man.
And I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the Leedz Edutainment Podcast with bass extraordinaire, producer, cancer survivor, and many other things, Brady Watt.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Leedz, man. And you're a legend, man. Boston, the amount of stuff you put on behind the scenes, people like me know. I know.
Thank you, man.
I know what
I really
it is.
appreciate it.
And I'll see you in the Middle East soon, man.
All right, buddy. Later.
Later, brother. Thank you.